Let's keep it Scottie for a second. Let me
Yeah.
say something about Scottie. In about 2 seconds, Kareem Ali will begin to speak. See, listen, Scottie Pippen is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. I had to revise my list, but I've had Scottie Pippen at number 30 at least, because I feel like we value offensive players, but we don't give the same value to defensive players. Scottie Pippen is arguably maybe the greatest perimeter defender of all time on the short list, with a Gary Payton, who's the greatest defensive guard, Michael Jordan, who won a Defensive Player of the Year, who's also one of the greatest perimeter defenders of all time. You have Tony Allen, which most NBA players say he was the toughest to guard them. There's Kobe Bryant, who was on 9 defensive first teams and 12 NBA defensive teams. Bruce Bowen was a great defender. And then there was also I'm missing one guy. Kawhi Leonard is unbelievable as well. I don't know if he has the accolades yet, but as a perimeter defender, Kawhi Leonard is a tough load to deal with. Some people will give Joe Dumars a lot of credit as well, but I think they only give him that credit because he played Michael Jordan that well. I think it was the fact that the Detroit Pistons were so good as a team that it enhanced what Joe Dumars had. But on that list, Scottie Pippen at one point was considered to be one of, not the best all-around player in the NBA in 1994 because of his ability to fill up every category: assists, rebounds, his leadership on the court without Michael Jordan. And even when Michael Jordan was there, he gave the guys more of a soft touch, whereas Jordan was more belittling and more aggressive and intense with his teammates. And you need that package, but you also need what Scottie Pippen brought, was more like a maybe more of a Magic Johnson type of approach to elevate his teammates, to elevate Horace Grant and those guys. So Pippen was a great player. I understand why Scottie Pippen may have been frustrated, because he felt like the fact that Michael Jordan wasn't in this league anymore, wasn't playing for this team, that it was his team, and Phil Jackson never, under any circumstances, even if it was a better play, would have called a play for Tony Kukoc and not Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was going to get that shot all the time, no matter what, whether he was hot, cold, he was going to get it because it was just coming to Michael Jordan. And Scottie Pippen expected that same respect. The problem is Scottie Pippen is a Michael Jordan. I mean, they have similar skill sets in other facets of the game, but not when it comes to offense. Michael Jordan was special on the offensive side of the basketball. And Scottie Pippen, he was good. He was really athletic. He could get his own shot, but he wasn't a shot creator like one of those explosive wings that we have of the day on the last 20 years. Tracy McGrady, maybe even a Grant Hill, Young Ray Allen, perhaps, who could get their own shot and score at a high clip. He's no Kevin Durant from that standpoint. A lot of his points sometimes came off of the attention that was paid to Jordan. He took good shots. He took the right shot in the right moment. If you look back at that game, that game that they played, Scottie Pippen had missed 2 shots down the stretch before they made the play for Tony Kukoc. Throughout the regular season, Tony Kukoc hit 2, maybe 3 last-second buzzer beaters for the Bulls to win regular season games, a season in which they went 55-27. The year before, they were 57-25 when they won the championship when Michael Jordan was there, actually. So the Bulls were still good. They added the best European player in the world in Tony Kukoc. They added Eric Pete Myers, which no one remembers. I think they added Luke Longley as well. So the Bulls had some cushion there, but I just don't think Scottie Pippen, that I think Phil Jackson used Pippen as a decoy. He drew up the right play. Can Phil be a racist? Sure, he said some disparaging things in reference to things that were racially, had a racial overtone to it that maybe he didn't even realize, like what Vic, you said earlier. He said something about LeBron James and referring to his crew as a posse, which, you know,
I remember that.
Black people could have I don't think Phil is like a hateful racist, like kill the niggers. I don't think that. But in terms of white supremacy, we're all affected. Black people, white people. If you wasn't, just like Jane Elliott says, you came up in the school system. If you don't have a little bit of that in you, you weren't paying attention, because everything is infiltrated by white supremacy. So it's probably within him, but I don't think that he's just like wearing it on his sleeve, someone who is, as Dre said, built his career off of black people. A lot of basketball players usually are like that. But Dre, I'll give the floor to you. What do you think, Dre?
He's no Donald Silver or whatever. What was the guy named Donald Sterling?
Yeah.
I also want to bring up the fact Scottie got a book coming out in November.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? It's a little time. Let's get the hype train going. This is the rollout. None of the little controversies. Sell your books.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's been plenty of time over the last 20, 25 years that Scottie could have said how he felt about Phil. They both been out of the NBA for quite some time.
He even went to work for Phil Jackson. He worked for Phil Jackson at one stint with the Lakers. He was like a assistant development coach at one point in the mid 2000s. So, I mean, I just don't know. I feel like Scottie Pippen is frustrated that he's always referred to as a sidekick. And for a long time, I mean, I remember watching basketball in that era and watching retro. They did make it seem like it was Jordan and the Jordanaires. They made it seem like Michael Jordan
was Michael Jordan, and these are the Bulls.
Right. He was David Ruffin, right? I'm David Ruffin. That's how it was. So
I mean, there's something to that, though.
To a certain extent, but
it definitely has merit.
But at the same time, Scottie Pippen deserves credit because it was his emergence that allowed the Bulls to go to another level. You had to worry about someone else on the floor other than Michael Jordan, along with the triangle offense, which made it difficult to see where Jordan and Pippen was going to be on the floor, so you couldn't send double teams. It was Scottie Pippen's defense on Magic Johnson that slowed that attack when James Worthy was injured in the 91 finals that slowed the Lakers down or sped the Lakers up, I would say, to a point that wouldn't let them get into their offense. It was Pippen's defense in that situation. Pippen against that New York Knicks team in 93, the year before, when Jordan was shooting poorly, when John Stocks was in his shorts. You got to give Pippen some credit. Pippen really showed up, and he played defense with a lot of energy. He had some pretty big offensive games during that time period. So he should get more credit than he deserves, but he's not going to be considered on the level of Michael Jordan. It's not the same thing. It's not like Magic and Kareem or Kobe and Shaq or some of these other duos. This is not the same thing. He's not on that level with Michael Jordan.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And even to speak to that exact moment, like if you look at it statistically, either that season or just over the long haul, Pippen was streaky, especially as a spot-up shooter. Yeah. Most of his outside shooting clip was hit when he was in transition. He would knock down the transition three, and sometimes he would, he could create a shot and hit a jumper or go to the hole, where Jordan could create a multitude of shots or opportunities. And Kukoc was just a higher percentage three-point shooter, a higher percentage shooter, period. So if you're running an off the side, outside bounds play, you're going to want to get it to the person who's probably going to make a set shot, catching the ball from out of bounds more statistically is going to be Kukoc in that moment. And so Phil was just calling a play by the numbers.
It was a brilliant play, and he hit the shot, so it's like it kind of proves it right.
Pippen to get the ball. Kukoc shoots better when he's catching the ball and releasing. He's made more shots like that this game and this season. Pippen's missed 2 this game, so it's like he was just doing a good by the numbers play. And then when you look at the overall, like you're saying, to me, Jordan, do the Bulls win 6 championships without Pippen? No. However, Jordan was the straw that stirred the drink to the point where you got lemonade. When Pippen was the straw that stirred the drink, you got lemon water. It wasn't quite enough to get lemonade. You saw the proof of that with him and the Rockets and him and the Blazers. The Blazers should have beat the Lakers in that series. If you have Jordan there, if you even have Jordan from the Wizards there, they win that game 7 because Jordan's not going to let them go that long without scoring any points. It went like 15 minutes without.
Well, hold on 1 second. Jordan from the Wizards in 2002 or Jordan from the Wizards in 2003?
All I know is the Jordan who played in that last All-Star game, you insert him in that moment. You stick him in that one moment. Blazers versus Lakers. He's going to make it happen.
Maybe.
For me, that's the difference between Jordan's level of greatness.
I would say Jordan. I would say maybe Jordan 98, but I don't know about Jordan in 2003. He may struggle against the defense of Rick Fox,
if he had to play
Harper,
the whole
Kobe
series,
Bryant.
yes. But you put any Jordan just in that moment. Like that's the difference between
Jordan to lose.
Would you say, Dre?
I think Jordan might be too stubborn to lose.
Too stubborn to lose. Maybe he would at least try to go to the basket and get a foul call to get to the line, stop the clock.
He's going to get that momentum shift. He's going to hit something shot. He's
The
right.
drought
He's
wouldn't
not
have
gonna
lasted
let him
15
go.
minutes.
I just don't know if, I mean, the Blazers shouldn't have lost that game, and history will be forced to view Scottie Pippen differently if he just gets to the finals without Michael Jordan. Doesn't even have to win. If he had just got to the finals one time without Mike, the same way that Chris Paul just got to the finals, seemed to elevate him on the point guard list. Even with
You
the
know what though?
What?
I don't think Scottie can do anything at all to change his legacy as that Robin to Jordan's Batman. Because you got to remember, everything you said earlier about what Scottie brought on the court, that's all fine and dandy. And that's great for all the people in the nosebleed section. But the people that paid a lot of money for them seats, them first 50, 60 rows, they came to see number 23.
Became to see Mike.
Who's on all the shoes, all the Gatorades, all the McDonald's, the Wheaties. He's the show. You always were the co-star. You've never not been the co-star. So that's just something I think that Scottie just got to learn to live with. And what's wrong with being number 2 to the greatest ever? Arguably.